It's weekdays on the Coast Best Mix, 7AD, 7BU. From the album The Kick Inside from 1978, there goes Kate Bush and Wuthering Heights. And it's a big good morning to Craig Heppel, who we do a peek inside Ulverston Real Estate. How are you, mate?
G'day, Andrew. Thanks for having me again.
Now, normally we talk about what you are doing, but we're going to talk about the person themselves, Craig Heppel.
Ooh, we're going to talk about
We're
me.
going to talk about you.
That's my favourite subject.
I want to find out more about the man himself who sits behind the mic here and tells us all about real estate on the Northwest Coast. I know one thing about you, and probably not many other people do. You're an ex-detective, is that right?
Guilty as charged, yes. 14 years in the New South Wales Cops.
Now, that's a big shift from being a cop to a real estate agent.
Well, funnily enough, the two vocations aren't that different. It's all about problem solving, asking the right questions, listen closely and actively, and especially listening to people's tonality with their voice, watching body language and offering suggestions and solutions. So I can give you a point of difference.
Well, I'm going to ask you now, from a New South Wales cop to a Tassie real estate here in Ulverston, how did that happen and why?
Well, a lot of people say, okay, cops to real estate, that's different. They're very similar.
Well,
There's
you're
no
not
point
the
of
only
difference.
one. You've got a mate that I know that lives in Sawtell, Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
He's done the same thing.
Chrissy Hines, he's an old Wollongong detective.
Yep.
He's a very successful real estate agent in Coffs Harbour. I think Fred from Roberts here, he's an ex-cop. But a lot of people say, big difference. Well, it's not. Because I've just pointed out a lot of those things that we have to do as a real estate agent. But do you know the only difference between the cops and real estate?
Blue lights.
No, my current clients, I can't put them in the boot of a car and run them around the corner.
Good on you.
But anyway, so New South Wales cop to Tassie real estate agent.
Yep.
Do you want to know how that happened?
Yeah, come on. I think everybody'd like to know.
Okay, so I don't want to sit here for hours and bore everyone, but basically I'm a boy from Sydney and met my wife on a blind date, and 11 months later we had our first son, and now then 3 sons later we moved to Queensland, got out of the madness of Sydney to the Sunshine Coast, and when our boys are off our hands, this is our second sea change to Tasmania, and I keep saying no one's ever going to shift me. But what sort of has been the major events, I suppose, through my life is that when I left school, I went and worked at the ANZ Bank for a little while as a teller. That was a pretty good experience, actually. And then I ended up joining the New South Wales Cops and working through uniform, and then I became a detective. And then I went to the major crime squad in Sydney, where I worked on major cases like extortions, huge robberies, people busting in the warehouse, major shoplifting rings, got involved in some of those extortions. One was on Ansett, one was on Nestle, the two big businesses, and they were fantastic jobs to work on. But then eventually I was selected to work undercover, and I did a very intense training course under the tutelage of a bloke called Mick Drury. Mick Drury was the cop that was shot through his kitchen window. He was giving evidence as an undercover, and they tried to bribe him to not give evidence, but because he knocked that back, he was shot through his kitchen window and obviously lived. And I was taught by him how to work as an undercover and a surveillance cop, and I was selected for a job where we set up 4 pawnbroking stings throughout Sydney, and I set up one in the southern suburbs, a place called Bexley, and worked undercover as a pawnbroker, and we were I suppose, collecting stolen gear from the crooks. We recorded everything that they did. We ran it for about 4 months, so I was someone else for 4 months. And anyway, that we were shut down one morning, obviously that was pre-organised, and the arrest teams went out, and from our shop alone, I think it was about $2.5 million worth of gear, and 62 bullet heads got shoved in the clink for our efforts. And when it was all washed up, a assistant commissioner who I suppose it was his brainchild, he said to me, I suppose, Heppel, you'll go out and, set up your own pawn shop. I said, don't be silly, sir. Anyway, I was promoted to detective sergeant, and I was in charge of one of the largest, second in charge, detectives offices in southern Sydney. Anyway, 12 months later, I left the cops, and guess what I did?
Real estate.
No, I opened my own pawn shop.
Oh, gosh.
And that's PAWN.
Right.
I opened a business, ended up selling that to my nephew, pawnbroking business. And then once we realised Sydney was shot to pieces, my wife and I and 3 children went to Queensland, as I'd said. Mm-hmm. And an old mate of mine, who sadly passed away since, a bloke called Steve Hearn, he said, I reckon, because he was up on the sunny coast and he'd gone into real estate. He was an ex-cop too. And he said, I reckon you'd go all right at real estate. And I went, oh, really? Okay. So I had a go at it. And within 2 years, I was the number one salesperson for the First National Group on the Sunshine Coast.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It was great. And as I said, a lot of the skills I learnt in the police has transferred to real estate.
Yep.
And I've embraced it. Worked for a couple of franchises, we'll call it, and then my wife and I went out on our own. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, we went out on our own in the middle of 2008. Yep. And in September of 2008, do you know what happened then, Andrew?
I'm trying to think back last year, let alone 2008.
All right, the GFC.
Yes, we do remember that, yes.
When the economy tanked.
Yeah.
We had about 8 or 10 contracts on our table, sales ready to go. 2/3 of them went south because the bank stopped lending. Right. So Karen looked at me and said, what the hell are we going to do? I said, fight like hell. And that's where I really learnt the trade of real estate. So I've been through the high markets, I've been through the low markets, especially a GFC.
And here you are in Tassie.
And here I am in Tassie, plying my trade and really, really loving it. 21 years in this game.
So how long have you been here in Ulverston?
We've been here for 6 years.
6 years,
yeah.
Right.
And we've never looked back, and we won't be leaving here, I can tell you straight.
Business booming?
Business is going good. You never say it's booming. You know, at the moment, the market's active.
Yep.
However, as I've said in one of my recent Instagram reels, is that over 50% of buyers, and we've discussed it before, they're subject to selling their own property. So, they're not quite cashed up, ready to go. So there's a bit of toing and froing going on to get deals together, but they are being put together, and I can say the market's fairly healthy at the moment.
Well, let's talk about the House of the Week. I love talking about Houses of the Week.
Oh, yeah, this one, what an absolute hurly-durly. This one's off the charts, and it's 80 Queen Street, West Ulverston. Now, it's called the Beach House, literally a 3-minute walk to the banks of the Leven River or Picnic Point Beach there at West Ulverston. It's a stunning 3-bed, 2-bath, mid-century home, and it's been in the same family since it was built in 1951.
Well, that's amazing. Well before I was born. Wow.
We won't go into dates.
Okay.
But, and before I was born. Yeah. So the blend of character and modern features, it's mind-blowing. So, and it's only from $699,000. So just call us if you want to know more or want a personal inspection of 80 Queen Street, West Ulverston. You can email me, craig@ulverstonrealestate.com, or call me 0400 180 515. It's all over the Big Property website, social media. Take a look.
I tell you what, this one is great. I love today. Let's talk about Craig Heppel. It's all been said.
Mate, I got a million war stories, but I don't know whether people want to hear about them.
Anyway, Craig, we'll chat next Thursday about 11:20 with a peek inside.
Really look forward to it, Andrew. Thanks.
Fantastic. That is Craig Heppel from the Ulverston Real Estate. We do a peek inside every Thursday at 11:20. Coming up on weekdays, Denise Williams and the Spencer Davis Group.